Thank you, Doris.
You're welcome.
Okay, this is a review session for the program that we did on the blowing rocks and splashing water and lighthouses. And I did some kind of interesting things. I had some time today because I'm in COVID quarantine because I was exposed on Wednesday. So I sat at my computer and I did some editing of some of the images. I picked some images that I thought needed a little bit of help, not massive amounts of help, but a little bit of help. And I wanted you to see how much just a little bit of help can do to make the images much better. So you'll get to see that. I divided the images in half. The first half of them are going to be the lighthouse images, and some people, which was wonderful, some people that didn't go on this trip had images from previous times, either at that lighthouse or a different lighthouse. And so they submitted those, which worked out great. So you're going to see those. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you a question about one of my images, and I can't decide which way to use it. I edited it, and I want to.
I don't know where it is.
I'm going to put you guys on mute, Virginia and Deb, until you figure out what you're doing. Okay.
I think she's okay.
Yeah, she's okay.
They're always talking.
They're still working something out. Okay, so we're going to start with the lighthouses. And I didn't, in previous times, I left all the editing stuff to the end. I didn't do that this time. I incorporated it. So we'll see a couple of images, then we'll see an image that I thought was like whatever, darker or lighter or whatever. And right away, I'll show you what I did to it. I did with Picasa and I did with Photoshop Elements. Very, very simple edits. And I'll tell you exactly what I did so that you have an idea. Okay, so let's see if it works. Share screen and desktop. Okay. All right, that's not what I wanted. Let's see if it works if I just find it. Not sure what this is. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, here it comes. Okay, can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yes. You can Perfect. Make it a little bigger, maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a slideshow, but I just...
What is the first game?
Okay?
Wow. Yes, very good.
Okay, excellent. Okay, here we go. Okay, so first we're going to look, we went up to the Jupiter Lighthouse. And for those of you that didn't, for those of you that didn't go,
we weren't supposed to be here.
For those of you that didn't go, it's not that far away. I always had in my head that it was like an hour and a half away. It's like 45 minutes. So if you're inspired by the pictures, go there. And the Blowing Rocks area was also fabulous. The part of the beach that had the blowing rocks.
I was inspired by the restaurant.
Yes, the restaurant was delicious.
Harry, we went to where we want, what you and I suggested. So
the Dune Deck. Well. Right? What was that called? It was that Dune Deck?
The dive bar.
Dive bar.
Yeah. And you have to explain it's not a dive bar.
Right. It was lovely. It's like in a little office complex. There's Susan Van Ness. And we were outside. It was beautiful. The boats were right there. The water was right there. And the food was delicious. So if you're the kind of person that drives places for meals, it's a nice place to go to. Okay. What do people think about this one?
Beautiful picture.
It's very nice.
Nice.
I like the placement of the lighthouse and the house on the side.
Yeah, I didn't notice that at first. And then I was looking at it and I was like, oh, look at that. A little value added. I don't even know where the person was standing. Oh, there was like a deck. That's where they were standing.
Yeah, there was a dock. Yeah, a dock.
Yeah, that was out on the water. So came out very pretty. When you see my pictures, the one thing you'll see is my sky. I put on a polarizing filter just because I wanted to experiment with it. I've not used it. I have it. So I put that on, and a polarizing filter spins, and it allows you to change the lighting and what happens with the blue in the sky and blue in the water, and you'll be able to see this. That's a little different. Because to me, this looks a little washed out. Not the sky, but the lighthouse looks a little washed out. I'd like to see it a little bit deeper color, which would be really easy to do either by doing a global edit to see what happens if you make the whole thing a little tiny bit darker, or just lassoing the red part of the lighthouse and just make it a tiny bit deeper, so that it really is. I mean, that's the subject of the picture. What do other people think?
I think you can crop a little bit off the top too. Top and probably the right side.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, we can try some. I don't think that's a dramatic thing to try, but if you remember last time, if I go out of the slideshow and go into the edit panel, then I can try editing some of these. We'll see if we need to do that as we go along.
Would it work on Photoshop Elements making the sky bluer? There's something about sky. I remember.
To try, yeah, there's like different options to try. Yeah, but when you do that, make sure it doesn't affect other, like the trees and stuff like that. Just experiment, make a duplicate so you don't mess up your original, obviously, and just see what happens.
There are various videos that demonstrate this exact point, and I just go on YouTube and search for sky modification on Element. You'll be surprised how available the instructions are and how simple it is.
Yes, but you have to be very careful with that, because you can make it look very false. You have to make sure that the shadows are coming in the right direction, the light is coming in the right direction. You can really alter it and make it really, well, I don't know about really bad. It's what you want, but it could look very false.
I think that's true with almost any edits. Like if you have too heavy a hand, that it just looks like bad HDR, like just bad. So yeah, I would say that's a general rule of editing across the board. Don't make the things look crispy by making them too contrasty. Be very careful. Okay, these are two. This was not taken when we were there. See, it has like bows on the lighthouse, so it must have been some kind of a occasion, like 4th of July or something, or Memorial Day.
Christmas, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. So this was taken at a different time. And this was taken on the day that we were there.
Well, the one on the right has a nice cloud backing up making it a nice scene.
But for me, it looks rather dark.
Okay.
The trees underneath, when you contrast it with the other one, I love the clouds, that they're wonderful, but the trees themselves, at least on my iPad, seem dark.
Yeah.
Other comments?
No, I like the one on the left. I like the brightness.
Yeah.
The lighthouse on the right should be a little bit brighter.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. If the lighthouse is looking dull, it might be in need of a coat of paint. It's looking dull in all of the pictures.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Doris, are you volunteering to go help them?
Doris, it's only 120 years old.
I have to tell you, I stood right here where this person took this picture. This is not my picture, but I stood right here because there was a little bit of a breeze and I wanted the flag to be open. And I stood there like 15 minutes firing my camera, trying to catch the flag on the little times. And then I came home and looked at my picture, and I think I had like 30 pictures, and one of them, it was like half open. Because I thought that would have looked glorious with it, with like blowing in the wind right over there. Can't always get.
I was thinking about that after the fact, that we should have discussed using burst to try and get the water splashing exactly the right moment.
Yeah, then you have
30 pictures of the wave coming.
Then you have to go home and edit all those bursted pictures. A lot of pictures. Okay, so I agreed that this one on the right was a little dark, and so I tried to edit it. Okay, so on the left is the original picture, and I did 2 different edits. So the first time I edited it, I used Picasa because I know there are people in our group that are using Picasa, and I use it as well. So I wanted you to see what you could do with Picasa. This is a global edit, meaning whatever I did to the whole entire picture, because Picasa does not have a way where you can isolate out something so it's not affected by the edit. Okay, in some other software, you can go all around the outside of something and tell the software, don't touch this. Touch everything else when I tell you what to do, but do not touch the lighthouse. But not with Picasa. Picasa is global. It's on or off. So this is edited in Picasa using fill light and highlights. Those are 2 sliders that Picasa has that allows you to adjust the brightness of the image. So I used highlights a little bit and I used fill light a little bit, and that is the result. And I straightened it.
Looks nice.
That's better.
Okay, so it just like Brenda said, it affected the trees and made them a little brighter and made the lighthouse a little brighter, but it also made the sky a little brighter. And perhaps you wouldn't want to do that. So then you can't use Picasa. So Picasa just does a whole thing kind of edit. So now I'll show you what I did with Photoshop Elements.
You can see more detail in the trees when you lighten it.
Right. Okay. So this is, remember this one. This is the before and after using Picasa. This is the before and after using Photoshop Elements. So I lassoed the lighthouse. I had to do the top part down to the trees and then the bottom part in here because I didn't want to affect the trees at the same amount that I affected the lighthouse. And I just brightened the lighthouse a little bit. I could control it a lot more, and it did not lighten the sky. Okay, so I did something called quick selection, which that's what lassoed all the lighthouse. And then I just use a brightening tool to make the lighthouse brighter without touching. In another picture later on, you'll see how I would make the sky lighter without touching the lighthouse. But here I just made the lighthouse brighter, a very small amount. You can see when you look at the difference here, it's a very small amount, just a hair, and did not affect the trees and did not affect the sky. Okay, none of this stuff is right or wrong. It's just different choices that you can make. Okay, so this is Barbara Bader. So this this is Barbara Bader's picture. Okay. Only obviously it was a horizontal at one time. And so she did that.
Wow.
Very pretty.
What did she use to do that?
I don't know. You'd have to ask her. She only works on her smartphone. And I believe she does all her editing on her smartphone as well.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah. What I thought was, she does some amazing stuff. What I thought was really interesting to me was that the flag didn't get obliterated in all.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Isn't that amazing? And the windows didn't get obliterated. And I don't know how she was able to control all of that. You would think it would have affected everything, but it didn't.
There is a program, Adrian, called Snapseed.
Right.
And I have to experiment with it a lot more. I don't use it, but apparently for smartphones, it is really, for iPhones, it is really a powerful editing tool.
Yes, and you can use it for iPhone and for Androids. It works.
Okay.
It's available for both. It's free, Snapseed. It has lots of very powerful edits. The problem is you're doing it all on a tiny little screen.
Right.
So you have to really either be just doing global things that you need to do, or really know how to navigate around to be able to get to little parts of your image. But there's some really powerful things on Snapseed. There's places where you can correct, like if there's like a dark spot on your image, where you can correct that. They have a lot of, and to a certain extent, what I was describing where I lassoed the lighthouse, there is a tool in there that lets you mask off part of the image so it's not affected by your edits. So maybe that's what she did. I don't know. She's not here. But I just think it's amazing that the flag is still there.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, here's two more images from two different people, not where we were, just different images that you can comment on.
Is that my image on the left?
Yes. Where is it, Marty?
It has to be in Europe somewhere. I don't remember exactly where.
Okay.
Right.
I think it needs to be straightened.
Okay. When something is so powerful in the image, which is, this lighthouse is very powerful, and it has lines like this, it has to be straight. Otherwise, you see that right away. You'll see further on, there's a water scene where the horizon is not straight, and it's very prominent. So, if it's not a real important thing, it might not make a difference, but this, I saw it right away, and same thing as the comment that it needs to be straightened. And again, something very easy to do in Picasa, Marty, and you have that.
Right.
Any comments about the one on the right?
A little dark.
Well, it was at dusk.
Right, so the bottom of the sky is like darker, showing you that it's dusk and there's a shadow.
Right, and you can see the light in the lighthouse.
Yeah.
And the top of the sky was even darker, but I brightened it up just a tad.
Okay.
Just to bring out the pinks in the clouds.
Pretty. Where was this, Susan? Do you remember?
Sanibel. It's the Sanibel Lighthouse.
So interesting to me how all the lighthouses in the world are so different. There's so many different kinds. They're like works of art. You could make a body of work of just lighthouses, like wherever you go, just make sure you see a lighthouse and then have a whole album just of those. They're just so pretty.
Yeah, I didn't want to make it too bright because it was dusk and like almost dark.
Right.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that the chimney adds anything to the picture. So my personal opinion is maybe try cropping that off. Just
I like the chimney, actually.
like.
And you wouldn't have that it looks like it's part of a house roof.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah, so the lighthouse was taken over the top of this house. And you have a little bit of the tree, which counterbalances the other stuff on the other side. So that didn't bother me.
You just might try it, might not bother. Just something different.
Well, if you cropped off this, then you'd have to crop off part of the bottom. Otherwise, you'd have this very long, skinny picture.
Yeah,
right. So I kind of like it, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
It's definitely grounding it. Yes.
The question is, where do you want your eye to go? And when I looked, I didn't spend a lot of time on that lighthouse because all of a sudden my eye went to the chimney. So in a way, I'd love to see how it would look if it was cropped, but I think it's a wonderful photo, but I wonder how it would look if the focus was just on the lighthouse.
That's my point, Brenda.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yes. I'm just reiterating what you're saying.
I liked all this, I don't know what kind of work you would call it, all this iron work, I guess you'd call it. So I got lost in all the iron work and the lamp. So I really didn't feel that about the chimney, but I can see that that's a good comment.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the porch and all the work, all the detail work.
If you look at the chimney, the left side, which is, I guess, the side the sun is barely and the left side of the lighthouse is bright, and the right side of each is dark. So that's kind of nice, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely interesting. And the same thing on Marty's. Look at how bright it is on this side. It's the same kind of a look. I really like that. This is really a distinct, and it goes all the way down here, and it even lights up the front of this guy's shirt, you know, and the side of this person's jacket. It's a really distinctive directionality that you get. And the rocks over here are a little bit brighter. All that's really, really nice. Really nice. Okay, so now I worked on each of these a little bit. Okay, so this is Marty's. I straightened it.
Yeah.
In Picasa. I only worked on Picasa. And then I used in Picasa, there's a button called I'm Feeling Lucky. I wanted to see what that did. And you see what it did to the sky? Everything's a little bit brighter.
On the side of the lighthouse.
Yeah,
too.
everything.
Yeah.
Yep, the side of the lighthouse. That might actually be a tiny bit too bright for me, but I didn't want to do anything Picasa couldn't do. But you can see a little more of the people. But the biggest thing is the straightening. You know, it's so obvious. It's a beautiful, beautiful image. And I just think it's a little bit better. I think there's a little bit more detail. It's just a little bit better with the I'm Feeling Lucky. Okay, so now this one is the same. I went back to the original picture again. I straightened it in Picasa. And I used the same things that I used on Barbara's picture, the fill light and the increased highlights. I made it a tiny bit brighter. I think they're probably pretty equal. And I increased the contrast a little bit, just a little bit. So I think that I'll flash back to the other one. I don't see like a huge difference between the two. Oh, actually, yeah, this is brighter.
Yeah.
I think I like the I'm Feeling Lucky better. Right? In the sky nicer on that first one. This one, it's prettier.
Yeah.
Okay. But both of these are really, 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 really simple to do. So. Okay, and here's Susan's picture. And I wanted to see what it looked like a little bit brighter, but not, you know, take away the fact that it's obviously the directionality of the light. You want to be able to see that. So what I did here was, first I did it in Picasa. So this is Picasa, fill light and highlights, the same thing I did with those other two pictures. But you see what it did? It made the sky way too bright because it was a global edit. I couldn't control it. I just could control it with the slider. But as soon as I got to the brightness I wanted for the lighthouse, because you can see there's like paint on the lighthouse and more details that you don't see in the original. Why did that happen? Oh, sorry. And by doing the Picasa edit, it affected the sky. And that's not good because look at how beautiful the sky was here and I lost it. So you have to be careful with global edits. So then I went to Photoshop Elements. And here I lassoed the lighthouse and I lassoed the chimney and the building. And you can see now in this building, you can see all the details in whatever it's shingled with, the roofing shingles. You can see all the roofing shingles now, and you can see more of the chimney as far as the sunlight, the failing sunlight. And I worked a little bit on how bright to make the lighthouse, but I like seeing all this detail, but it's different. And there's a window. See, there's a window here. There's all kinds of other details that came out. I did not brighten the top because I did not want to mess with the lamp. And then what I did, I did a quick selection. I worked on the lighthouse, and then you can go in and reverse it. So first I worked on the lighthouse, and now I want to work on the sky. So initially, whatever edits I did affected the lighthouse and the roof line and the chimney. And then I reversed it. So it did not affect any of those things and only affected the sky. And I brought the sky back and made it even a little bit darker than in Susan's picture, and a little bit more of the pink came out, which I thought was pretty. And I used darken levels to do that.
Great edit, and I think that the chimney is not objectionable in this photo.
You know,
I feel in the house.
I feel the same way. Somehow changing it like that made the chimney definitely an integral part of the photo.
Right.
Susan, what do you think?
Yes, I like it, and the chimney looks good. The only thing is it's really not representative of the level of dusk on that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not true to what you saw when you were doing it. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
So when she was there, she couldn't see all those details. So I'm actually going beyond what her vision had.
Right.
So not right or wrong, just different approaches.
That's
Question
right.
to the comment.
Yes.
The comment was that it doesn't represent what was there actually. Does it matter?
No.
Well, it matters to the photographer.
But yeah, to the photographer it matters.
The point is
Yeah, because the light was on. The light was on because it was darkish.
No, I understand, but are we doing journalism, or we are basically trying to create artistic photography?
Very good point.
Well, that's a debate.
Yeah.
Most of my stuff doesn't look like it in actuality.
You know, I think that it's not enough to make it a lie, you know, like as far as it wasn't what it was. But in Susan's image, it was a dark, gloomy time of the day. You know, that was the time of the day. And in my image, it's not, it's earlier in the day, like maybe a half an hour, maybe 20 minutes. It's not a huge difference, but it's a little bit, you know, you could have just been there at that time.
Right.
Excuse me.
Go, Vivian.
I like this. I like the brightness of it, the lighthouse, and I like what we see on the roof. How do I make the sound softer? It's very loud, and I can't find how to soften it.
That's it's from your device, from whatever your device is. What are you working with?
Yeah, from my computer, but I can't seem to.
On the keyboard. On the keyboard of your computer, I'm on a Mac, so I can only tell you what is on a Mac. There's a top row, and one of those, at that top row, there's a microphone, and it shows bigger or littler, and that's how you change the sound. You see it on the very top row of keys?
And I never knew that. I only could do it on the screen, and I can't.
My keys have a minus and a plus. Plus to make it louder, minus to make it smaller.
Okay.
Softer.
And mine, they were like parentheses kind of thing.
Every computer has it. Every device.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's there something, but I don't have it. Oh, I see. Maybe here.
Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Better?
Okay.
You hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Now you can't hear me.
I can hear you.
We hear you.
Now you can't hear me. Okay.
We can hear you.
Now you can.
Yes.
Now you can. Okay.
No, we heard you both times.
It's not your volume that those keys are for. It's for the volume that you're listening to.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You
can make us. You can mute us on that. Also, there's a third key that has a
I can
mute.
mute you, but then I won't hear the comments. So I want to hear
Okay.
the comments.
There's also a setting in Zoom that you can adjust the volume.
Oh, that I don't know where that is.
It's
Okay, go on. I'm sorry. Go on.
That's okay.
I'll figure something out. All right. Thank you. Oh, that's very cool.
Very creative.
Okay, so the next few images are all parts of the lighthouse.
It's very symmetrical.
Love the halo around everything.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. That was where the sun was. So that was what it was. But I did brighten these golden looking struts, which are probably wood all the way up there on the top. I made those a little bit lighter, just the way I described in Photoshop Elements. I had time today, which is unusual, so I did a little editing. And I lassoed each one of these separately and just brightened them a touch to make them a little more glowy looking. And then I eliminated that lasso, and then I lassoed the whole entire red part and added something called inked edges at the lowest amount I could do it, just because I wanted this to really, really show up. That's the window. So you can see down in here, there's just a little tiny bit of the inked edges, affecting the picture, but I really wanted what it would do to this. So it was a matter of what I was saying before, is not having a heavy hand, just like a 2% or a 3%, not a 5 or a 6%.
I like it.
Yeah, so it's worth it to take a minute or two to edit your pictures. It was fine before, but I just think it's a little bit better this way.
Just a comment.
Go.
If you look at the edges of the tower itself and the canopy, if you will, on top, the sky is a bit lighter. I don't know if at least on my screen it shows this way.
It is. It's the light is coming from behind the lighthouse.
Well,
it's like a rim light.
Yeah, I'm hoping it was there rather than created edit.
Yes, and Sam's point is very good, because that's a dead giveaway of bad editing. When you see like a glowy edge between what you worked on and what's there. But no, that was there. That's the rim light that was there. And I looked at it afterwards too, and I was like, whoa, did I do that? And so I went back to the original picture, and it's there. There were also, I guess I should have done it before and after. There were spots. My polarizing filter was dirty, and there were spots. There must have been about 10 spots on this blue screen, and this had to be perfect. And so I used the correcting tool and just went like that over them, and they all disappeared. And I was very nervous about that, because a lot of time when you use that correcting tool, you can see the outlines, but I guess it was just the spots were very not boldly embedded in the sky. So they came out right away. But that could have destroyed my pictures. So make sure your equipment's clean. All right. And the same thing with a smartphone, that the lens on the smartphone gets dirty and you need to clean it. Otherwise you'll have artifacts in your images.
Yeah.
But for those of you that we went inside the lighthouse. None of us climbed, but they allowed us, we asked for permission, and they allowed us to go inside just at the bottom. And some of us shot inside that spot. And it's interesting to see, there's like 4 or 5 of these images, different aspects or different perspectives of this spiral staircase. So these are 2 from 2 different people. Comments?
They're both beautiful. They're nice and sharp. The color palette is beautiful. The contrast between the black and the color is gorgeous. They're both very well done.
Yeah. I love how the blue does this little edge thing here.
Yeah.
I don't even know where that came from. I don't have any of that in my images. Is that
It's from
is
the
it from the
sky, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
And they had this wire, I guess an electrical wire, that was messing everything up, but it was like too much to remove. You see it here?
It's amazing it came from an iPhone 12.
Yeah.
Cell phones are incredible.
Yeah, they both came out just beautiful. But I love this, what the lighting is doing in here that you see. Here, it's probably there also, it's just, this is a very close-up image, so you don't see it. But it's, like this whole roundness, and the lighting just makes it so much more beautiful. And there were archways at the bottom. That's what this is part of. Any improvements that would you make to either of these?
Can you take out the archways?
That it would just be a different crop. Oh, you mean like with a cloning tool or something?
Something, yeah.
I don't think so. Because if you tried to do that, you'd have to have all of this detail that's in the brick in this space.
Mhm.
I have no idea.
I think the portion on the left should be cropped out.
Just take like crop it here
That
No,
could work. That could
no,
work.
get all the way to the left.
and this part.
Yes,
Right.
that part.
That could work.
Yeah, it'd be worth looking at it with and without to see if it did anything to improve to make the image different in a better way. I just keep looking at the blue. It's just so pretty. This is the same thing, I believe. That's just the ironwork with a filter that makes it very, very beautiful. This is Ira, I'm sure.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
How could you tell?
Wonder where all the red comes from.
Oh, I worked with that.
Oh, to make it more red.
Yeah, there's, I don't want to get too technical, but in Photoshop, there is something called neural filters that allows you to take a black and white photo and add color to it.
Okay.
So what I actually did is I made this into a black and white photo and then added color back to it. And you can pick the colors that you want to add to it.
Oh, very cool. What do people think about this?
I like it, but I know it's the inside of the lighthouse, but if I didn't know that,
You wouldn't know what it was.
I would just think that it was a great, a great shot of some ironwork
Right, it's an abstract.
as an abstract. Mhm. Pretty, Ira.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the way the rays, are just coming up. All of the I don't know, I guess those are the dividers between the steps, if you look at it a certain way. As opposed to them being sideways or whatever. I just think that the way they're oriented is real, it enhances the picture a lot. And you can see, if you look closely, that in this area, you're looking right at the wall beyond the steps. But here you're looking at more steps and more steps and more steps behind these steps. And when I just noticed this, Ira, can you see my arrow when I use it?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah,
See
I could take out that
Yeah,
spot.
you need to
Sure.
take that out. That's a little
Sure.
glary. Yeah.
Sure.
But it wasn't big.
noticed it.
It wasn't big enough to notice it any other time. It was just when I was walking around with the arrow that I came upon
Yeah,
it.
I didn't notice it, but you're right.
Very pretty. Okay, so now we went to Blowing Rocks, which was a portion of the ocean where the rocks are really close to the water, and so when the ocean water splashes there, it does these beautiful fans of water. And we were a little bit late. Like if we had been an hour earlier, it probably is very violent at that time. But the tide was out a little bit more at this time. This is from another time because Marty didn't come with us. But what do you think about this?
I think I should have cropped it more.
The sky?
What would you have cropped away?
I would have probably the sides to enlarge the whole image a little bit more.
Maybe this side I would crop a little bit, but I wouldn't crop anything away on this side.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe a little less sky because sky is very plain anyway.
Right. So maybe like if you keep it 11 by 4, if you're going to do it as 11 by 14 for the show, you would, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. You would come across here and maybe down like that in 11 by 14. It would be nice if this stayed in because that has some interest. And then this would be a little bit more prominent.
I think that taking off a pretty large portion of the bottom, leaving just the tips of the big white rock, it looks nice. I put a piece of paper down there.
Oh, and take off some of the smaller ones?
Yeah, all of that pretty much.
I mean, the best thing is to make the 11x14 crop and then move it around. You know,
Yeah.
just like with your mouse, just move it over here, look at it, move it down, look at it, just see what you think when you're actually looking at it. And you can always undo it. So, you know, that's a beauty in Picasa and in all these programs, and most of the times you can undo your edits. But if you're not sure, make a copy and work on the copy.
This would be an interesting photo to play around with sky replacement. I don't always agree in sky replacement. The sky here is nothing.
Right.
So you might, if you want to emphasize a sky like that, you might play around with a sky replacement. Whether you use it or not, it's a different story.
Right.
But it might be a place for it.
Yeah, those are in Photoshop elements. Marty does Picasa. But pretty picture.
And if you want to enter it in the show, it needs to be your own sky, right? You can't get
Yes.
a
No,
sky
that's
from
not
somewhere
true.
else.
Well,
That's not
true.
the problem is we're never going to be able to tell.
But
I
you
mean,
can do all creative in our show now.
Right, but it does say it has to all be your own work. But if somebody used a replacement sky from another source, you would never be able to tell. None of us are sophisticated enough. You'd have to go back into the metadata of the image. So yes, you're supposed to use only your own skies. That just means you go outside and take a lot of pictures of skies and then paste it in there. But again, what I think it was Ira said before, when you do a sky that doesn't really belong there, is it going to make it, you know, where did the light, see all these little light things on the water? Where'd they come from if there's no brightness in the sky? You know, you have to sort of be careful what the direction, because see here, there's directionality to the sun and here. So if you're going to replace the sky with something else, it has to have that same directionality. Otherwise, your picture is going to look confusing. You see what I'm talking about? Is on all these surfaces, you see where the directionality of the light, even in the white caps, you see the directionality of the light.
Yeah. If
You
you
have to
put
be
in a
careful.
beautiful sunset, there has to be some color probably
Right.
reflected in the water.
Something, right? Exactly. Okay, now it was very hard. I tried to group these similarly. So like these are all as you walked onto the beach from that direction, and then I have the other ones where you're looking from the other direction, and ones that are close up to the edge and ones that have more rocks. So we'll see how it goes. But as much as I could, I tried to keep them thematically similar, for want of a better word. And in case you're wondering why some of the pictures have words on them and some don't, it's because when I look at the images and look at what's called the metadata, which tells you what settings you used when you shot the picture, not all of them had it. So I could only put it if I had it, kind of thing. Okay, what do people think about this?
I like it. I know that if I was there, I'd be falling all over the place.
Yeah.
It's pretty rocky.
It was very difficult walking.
Yeah, this is like down by the water. The beach is still the beach. And then, so you had to walk on all the sand. And then this was down where usually it's all smooth from the water. These rocks were all there.
It's very cool.
It's a very pretty picture as an alternative. And just as an alternative is to maybe take crop some off the right to emphasize the path a little bit more.
Right. All this the path here that's going diagonal, which is really nice. What I was saying is if you cropped off a little bit here, this would be even more.
I'm freezing. Oh.
Whoever's talking, it says they're freezing. You need to put yourself on mute. Anyhow, this would be more important or prominent in the image. And I think this would be also interesting to see what it would look like as a vertical with this running across it and all of this splashing here.
And the horizon doesn't look totally straight.
Good point, Susan. You see here, if you look across the horizon, because it's so prominent, it needs to be straightened.
It does.
And it's just a little tiny bit. That's very easy to do in Picasa. It's also pretty easy to do in Photoshop Elements. If anybody has problems with that or can't find it on a tutorial, just let me know. Because that's like a 1 degree. I don't do the one where you put the string and you move it. I just do it in degrees. And that's pretty easy. Okay. So this is, more close, even closer to the water. This doesn't look sharp to me. And it could be because the depth of field, we learned about depth of field last time. 4.5 depth of field is a shallow depth of field. So there are parts in here that are nice and sharp, but this over here is softer. Not that there's something wrong with that. I'm just saying it's softer, and the sharpness is here, and then there's softness out here again. I don't know what this is.
Whatever
that has
that
to go.
is, I would take that out.
That has
Yeah.
to go. Also, the shadow on the bottom, I wonder if we got rid of that, how it would look.
Yeah,
That's
see what
good.
Nancy's talking about right
Yeah.
in here.
Right.
Yeah, you don't need that.
I found this hard to do. The foamy stuff and the sprinkly stuff and all these dots. I wanted it to be something that I couldn't make it be. Like I wanted more delineation between the waves and stuff, and it just didn't do that. But
I
it's
think
pretty.
it'd be a gorgeous picture if it was cropped a little bit even more so that you're emphasizing the rocks and the splashing.
Right, like in this area.
Mm-hmm.
There's
The
also
bottom,
there's
even-
also
even-
pools of water in here that I don't know if you're seeing that. There's actual little pools of water. There's one here, and there's actually a stream of water going from one to the other. Right in there.
Yeah, if you crop it all, that would be emphasized. You don't need the bottom part at all. It'd be even beyond the shadow.
So like
you have
right around
beautiful,
here.
the waves are gorgeous and the
Yeah.
rocks are gorgeous. And you should emphasize that a little bit more.
Yeah, this is worth playing with.
The key point is to make sure that the F number is not so low.
Yeah.
That needs to be straightened too.
Yeah, this was the one that I remembered when I was talking about the horizon before. That this, like, as soon as you look at this picture, you see a glaring error in that
Yeah.
hasn't been straightened.
Yeah.
And it could have looked that way in real life. But you can't let it look like that in the image because it takes all of your interest to the back of the picture, which you don't want to happen. But again, this one, look at this shallow f-stop. So when you're, I don't know whose picture this is just because I have it here, but I'm not sure. So this person is shooting in program, and all the smartphones also are shooting in program. That's a setting that allows the camera. It's almost like automatic. It allows you to change one thing. In automatic, you can't change anything. In program, you can change one thing, and then the computer changes everything else to whatever it thinks it needs to be. So I don't know what factor the person put it at, but if you're choosing to shoot at program and you're shooting a big thing like this and you want all of it to be sharp, that's assuming you want all of it to be sharp. You might not, but assuming you want all of it to be sharp, this should be a big number like 8 or 12 or 16. Then the camera will do whatever it needs to do with this number and this number to make it all work. All right. So just because you're on program doesn't mean you get a free pass. It just means you have to only decide one thing, not 4 things or 3 things. Does everybody understand that?
You can set your camera to landscape if you want to use those programs.
Right. Okay. So what Boris is saying is on the camera, I don't know about in the smartphone if they have that, but in the camera, it'll say action, I don't know, landscape, macro, there's a picture of a flower for macro, and you choose that. then the camera says, okay, this person wants everything in focus because it's a landscape, and they want the lighting balance because it's a landscape, because they chose landscape, but they still made a choice. So you shoot on landscape, then you have to remember that if you're then going to shoot something as a close-up, you have to change it away from landscape, or it's going to shoot that like a landscape also. Because it's a stupid camera. It doesn't interpret unless you give it the information. Okay. And matrix means that the light, it's looking at the light on the whole picture as opposed to a small area. So if you have it set on matrix, that's what that means. Okay, that's a similar path like we saw in the other picture, but closer up to all of this foamy stuff. Also a crooked horizon. Okay, very important. You know, when you do this for me next time, when we do a review next time, let's see if we can eliminate all the crooked horizons. Take the time to look at the pictures you're sending me and at least fix that obvious thing, because that's not a judgment call. It has to happen. Okay, so this is a phone picture, and look at the f-stop here. But I don't think any of this relates to anything that we normally think about. But with this very, very low f-stop, look at how fast the shutter speed is. All right. The computer
that caught the water splashing.
Right,
nicely.
it did. The computer knew that the light with this setting and this setting, but mostly with this setting, that the light was going to come pouring into the lens, because at these low numbers, the light comes pouring into the lens. In order to compensate for the light coming pouring into the lens and just making this whole picture white, it made the shutter fire really fast so that the light didn't have a chance to get in and ruin the picture. Does that make sense?
That's a weird shutter speed.
Yeah.
That'll take care of it if your hand shakes at all.
Right,
too.
all that for sure, for sure. And it also made the ISO really low, which means, you know, how much light it's letting in. So 50, as opposed to if it was very, very dark, the number might be 400 or 600. So it did a good job.
That's amazing, the job that it did to do that. It's a fabulous photo.
Absolutely fabulous.
So I have a question. I believe it's mine. I think I'm the only one who used the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So I'm assuming it's mine. I could be wrong. I wasn't sure in the first one that you showed it was mine or not.
Yes, this one is yours.
This one
and that other one with the little path was yours also.
Oh, okay. How do I on an iPhone? How would I straighten it? I think when I took it, I tried to keep the horizon straight. And how would I do it?
You have to find out if that's in the editing software of the phone. Otherwise, it's probably in Snapseed, or once you have it in your computer, I can show you how to do it in Photoshop Elements.
Okay, thank you.
Very easy. Yeah.
It's off ever so slightly. It was a great job. I mean, just a tiny bit. You have to really look at it to see that.
Yeah. Well, it's especially obvious if you look at the amount of sky here versus the amount of sky there. That's when that really makes it different. But it's really pretty. And the diagonal line, the diagonal line leading you into the water is what really makes it
beautiful.
Yeah.
I think she got the biggest splash of the day.
Yeah.
I didn't see the water go that high.
You had to be very patient. Also, she has a lot of detail in the rocks that are as sharp, and you can really see all the detail, which is really, really nice.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, and then this is just the water, foamy water. I don't think this is as spectacular as any of the other ones. This might be a fun one to change to black and white and see what happened, how it would look in black and white.
It's almost black and white.
Yeah, it's like brown and gray. But I know that is this a phone also? Who is this? Oh, Brenda, this is yours too. So in the phone, there's several different kinds of black and white that you can choose from. There's like a silvery black and white. It might be interesting to see what some of those black and white would do to this.
Okay.
Worth a shot. Okay, and this is an example of a slow shutter speed and what it does to the water. This is from another place, obviously, but this is really spectacular looking at what's happening here with the water. Any comments?
I think it's a bit too slow because I would like to see the top flow rather than the foamy bottom. And to do that, the shutter speed should have been increased.
Just a little bit.
Yep.
And that's a good point. You can't really always see this in your camera. So if you're at a spot and you're not going back there anytime soon, it's worth it to take the same picture at different settings, especially if it's something you can't fix later. Like you can't make your computer make this look different as far as the flow of the water. But when you're standing there, you can certainly shoot it at 1/50th and then at 1/100th and at 1/200th and just change the dial and shoot like 5 or 6 at different intervals and see what that does to it. It's definitely worth it.
It was Glacier National Park.
Mm-hmm.
Did you use a tripod?
No.
Steady hand.
Yeah. I mean, down in here, everything's sharp. The
Yeah.
colors are just
the colors
beautiful.
are gorgeous.
Yeah, the colors are beautiful.
One of the tricks in such situation is to take it in the burst mode with different settings, with the F number changing. The shutter, I think that even possible for shutter speed changes. So you may get 3 or 4 different images and then try to combine them all together. It may be interesting.
It would be nice.
Is that is that what stacking is, Sam? Do you know what stacking is?
Yes, correct. It is.
Okay.
Once you edit, yes.
Okay. I've never done that, but I know that you can do that. Very pretty.
And there are various stacking modes. So again, this requires sitting in front of the darn boob tube, so to speak, and playing with, not on your phone or on your camera with your camera.
You know,
The stacking part, yeah, that's editing.
I also made this a square because there was a stick out to the left, which is not shown here. And I didn't want it in the photo, so I made it a square.
You know, it's obvious that the water's been there for hundreds of years, say, and it's amazing to see the color of the rocks from the different levels of water that came down. You know, it's really very pretty.
And if you look in here, how smooth the rocks are from the water wearing it around, you can just see all of that, which is amazing in a picture like this with no tripod. And having this like right in the center, I like that.
Because it's a little bit of a diagonal. The water flow is diagonal and diagonal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it comes this way and then this way. It's a nice image.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Love it.
This to me looks crisp. Like what we had a class once with Christine, what's her name? I forgot her name. And she told us about images that like just are sharpened a little too much or contrasty a little too much. And they wind up being like have artifacts in them that make them look crispy. I don't know how else to describe it, but when I see it, I know it. And so this to me looked crispy. And I don't know why that happened. Did you do stuff to it?
Yeah, I was, I don't remember what, but I was after getting those footprints to be more important.
Got it.
It's overly sharpened and overly saturated.
Right. Just this is an example of a little bit too heavy-handed because it makes it look artificial. but I see what you were trying to do. You're trying to, and I think that's partly because the angle that you were at, you really can't see the depth of the footprints in the sand. You have to be a lot taller person.
Yes.
Well, you know, it definitely wasn't from the bird, from the seagull. or
Right,
whatever
it definitely
was.
wasn't from the bird. I saw these birds around and I took a lot of pictures
Yeah,
of
they
birds.
look so unusual.
I know,
though.
but they came out terrible in the pictures. I don't know why. They just were like, eh. They didn't, I guess because the background was water and the same, they were similar colors, so there wasn't a good palette. Didn't work. But anyhow, be careful. I mean, when you're doing stuff like that, that you don't go over the edge.
But that seems to be winning so many awards for David,
What?
being very, well, like his black and white and
Right, but he just doesn't go over that edge where it looks crispy. He keeps it under control. What did you do here, Ira? What is going on up here and down in here?
I wanted to emphasize you.
Right.
So I quick selected you, and then I don't remember exactly what I did with the background, but I altered the background. But my emphasis here was to get you and some of the foreground rocks, not foreground, but mid photo rocks in focus, and that was my emphasis on this.
Right. What do people think?
The background is either should be all blurry or not partially blurry, like see some things sharp in the back.
Yeah, like these things that are popping out
Mm-hmm.
and right here. This is all sharp. That was what was confusing to me because this is not sharp.
And the front is not sharp.
Right.
Mhm.
But this piece here is, and I don't even know how you did that.
And you are
Yeah.
sharp. That's what he wanted to do, is make you sharp. But I don't know if it was necessary to make everything else front, kind of this circle that goes from the back to the side to the front. I don't know if it was necessary to make all that so blurry.
Adrian, do you remember? I sent you 2 pictures. Do you remember if this is the first or the second?
Oh, no idea.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I really went overboard on one, and this might have been the one I went
Maybe.
overboard.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember.
But I like the water, the look of the water.
Yeah.
I tried to be different.
Yep.
Doesn't always work.
Yeah. Okay, so these are now, you see, you walked past all those rocks and you turned around. So now the sun was behind the people, the photographers. In the other direction, the sun was sort of on the right side towards the front. So it was a little more difficult.
Bottom of the rocks looks like a dog, a face of a dog.
oh, I see.
Oh yeah, with a
Yeah.
little nose and eyes.
Very cool. Good
I
picture.
think that's a basset hound.
I like the little greenery back there. Any comments on this one?
I like the danger that it says, watch out.
And I like the horizon. That one is straight.
Absolutely. And look at the little white caps, one here, one there. Just
Yeah.
breaks up the water. And I like how the water is lighter and then medium and then darker, and it's just really pretty. Pretty. Okay, so this is that same spot. Yeah, that little doggie's down over there. And I changed it to black and white. I wanted to see what it would look like. Can't remember what I was doing. Someplace I went with somebody and we saw a lot of black and white images, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try more of that. So I
It
just
was
wanted to
me.
see.
It
Oh.
was me. At
Oh,
the,
there you go, Brenda.
It was me at the Norton.
Okay, right. There was a whole, if you haven't seen the exhibit at the Norton of the street fashion photography, you have to get yourself there before it closes. It's closing the middle of February.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
was stupendous. And I just kept getting drawn to the black and whites. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try more of that. But look at how messed up the sky got. It's like pixelated because I don't know why. So I have to learn a little bit more about that. I like what this part looks like in the black and white, but I don't like what happened to this. You know, like if I made a print of this, it would not look good. What do people think about it in black and white versus color?
Just looks like something's missing.
That's interesting.
It looks like something's missing on the top. You know, you don't even think of it as a black sky. It looks like you just stopped.
Like you're waiting for the show to start.
Right?
I like it in color better.
I do too.
Okay.
Top
I
of
like
the
the
rock-
color as
top of the
well.
rock starts the horizon. That's very cool.
Regarding the black and white, you should have tried different conversion features. I assume it's with Element, right?
Yes.
There are, I think, more than one way to convert to black and white.
Yes, I know.
And you
I
should
did this. I looked at this in all 5 of the, there's one place where it says delete the color, you know, desaturate it, but then there's a completely other place where it says convert to black and white. And when you do the one that says convert to black and white and you open it, there's like 5 or 6 options. There's newsprint, infrared, and I looked at it in all of those. I don't remember which one I picked. I think I picked landscape, that it looked the best in landscape, because the other ones made this area look too gray. I needed this to be really white. So there were different options, but it's very simple. It's just a click. And then there are a couple of sliders if you want to like sort of tweak it a little bit. But there's lots of different things. And I used to have Silver Effects, which has like dozens and dozens of options for black and white. But
So
it
a
disappeared.
question. If you look at the original, it's impossible to see it on the screen here, but what probably you should have done is basically denoise it as much as possible and then convert. Because the sky look, it picked up the noise from the color picture.
Right.
It
So
is
you
at
do
the-
that first. I didn't know how to. Okay.
In the original, yeah, to denoise.
Okay.
I forget how you do it, but it's possible.
Yeah. I have that in, is it part of Elements? I don't have a separate program, but there's a part of Elements on the filters where it
Right.
says denoise.
And you can repeat several times. Each time it does a little bit again.
Okay. So that's what it's called, folks that don't know that. See all of these like speckly things in here. They're really red and blue and green and they're in here and they make the blue sky. And so here it didn't look so bad, but as soon as you change it to black and white, it looked awful. So you need to sort of be careful about that. And there's a button to press that says denoise that takes away some of that speckliness of it.
So
Makes it sort of
can I
smooth.
ask a question, please?
Yes, Vivian.
Today, all the popular and famous photographers all use these different programs that are available to make their shot really look great. And then they charge thousands of dollars for their photography, for their shot. Is that what they do now? I mean, years ago, they didn't have all this available. So now.
Yes, they did. It was just in the darkroom. Ansel Adams used it.
Yes.
Right.
But the dark room took a lot of time, where this you could take, doesn't take as long.
It's right because it's computerized.
Right.
But yeah, we all are. And that's why we took the creative aspect section out of our show, because everybody's doing this to some degree. And everybody was doing it in the dark room to a longer, more complicated degree, but now it's accessible to more people. So more people can do it.
That's so interesting.
Hey, Adrian, which filter did you use for the black and white? Because
I think it was.
If you use a red filter, it might be a little bit different. And if you take out some of the sky, I think it'll be really a nice picture.
Okay, I'll try that. I'll try that. All right, so this is the same. This is an image that two of us shot. And I decided to show the difference. So this was what happened with the blue from the polarizing filter that I used. And the rocks, I made them black and white, just the rocks, using that harnessing, because I thought it would look cool. And I like it in the black and white.
It does
and-
look cool, and it's
right,
the
and-
whole foreground.
And then this area over here was really too bright. So I softened all of that with burn tool. And let the water, I didn't touch the water or the sky or any of that. And I didn't touch this foreground either. That's the shadow that the rocks made.
It certainly looks all black and white.
Yeah.
It's very good.
didn't-
I
that-
like it. Mhm.
And here's the two of us. So I think it's Donna that shot this one. And you can see that the rocks are brown. And here the rocks are black and white. I just thought that the black and white made a nice contrast against the blue. I
Yeah,
tried to crop it as similarly to hers as possible. But I don't think that hers is really sharp. And I don't know why, probably because of how the camera chose to shoot it. And the thing is that when you're shooting with a smartphone, unless you tell it where to focus, it'll choose something. So maybe it chose, I don't know, here to be sharp or here to be sharp and not concentrate on that. And I center weighted it into here, but I shot at a very deep depth of field so that the water and the rocks would both be sharp.
You can call it kissing rock.
Yes, that's what I called it. That's actually what I called it, kissing rocks.
But I could probably edit it a little bit more, couldn't I?
I don't know. It depends on did you crop this from a bigger picture?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you could try to make it sharper. You have to be careful of what happened to Eileen when it got crispy, because if you over sharpen something, it will turn all crispy like that. But it can't hurt to try it. What do people think about changing the rocks to the black and white?
I like it,
Yes.
but you lost the, well, I didn't know you lost it till I looked at the other picture, so you can't see my cursor. I'm trying to use it. On the left, there's a big black opening.
You're
On
talking
the
about
left side.
down here at the bottom?
No, I'm talking about the other picture, the one
Oh.
that, yeah, and up in the rock, there's this big opening of a hole, a black hole, and the frame around it.
You mean this part over here?
No, up higher. Yes, oh, you
Right
passed
there?
it. No,
Oh, this dent?
no, down there.
Okay.
It's yes, that opening there.
Right.
And you got the frame around it. And yours doesn't show.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see that on mine. So the light was not falling on that. That's interesting.
Oh, that's true. It's not really
Yeah.
the exact same picture when you're doing it at different times.
Right. Okay, these are the last two pictures. These are the ones that I wanted some opinion about. These are the same image with different editing. Okay, I don't even care what I did or ever. You see where this still has that little bit of blue, but it has a lot of the noise. You see there's noise in here. I want to make this into a print for the photography show. And I'm wondering if by whatever I did here, I didn't write it down. That was sort of stupid. By making it, I've tried to get rid of the pixels. If you look closely, there's pixels all over this part. I shot this at a 51,000 ISO. Got that? 51,000. So there's definitely artifacts in here. I think there's less artifacts. I did denoise it, but just once. I didn't think of going back and denoising it again. I didn't even think that you could really do that. Do you think that it ruins it? Like I made it a little bit brighter in here. This has more blue, or it doesn't matter.
Adrian,
I
I don't
like the
want,
blue.
I like the blue.
Okay.
Blue too.
That was the original. Ira, you going to say something?
I said I didn't want it in the show because I think you have a winner there. I personally, I like the black and white, but I would take out that rope along the bottom of the railing along the bottom of it.
Over here.
Yeah, that doesn't add anything to it, takes that away from the lines.
Okay.
And I don't know about the white on the bottom, those 3 lines of white. I just don't know about it.
Okay.
It
I
takes
like
away from the
those.
effect. Yeah, that's fine.
But I don't think it's 11 by 14 yet. So I might have to get rid of those because if I crop it to 11 by 14, I think this is a 2:3 ratio.
You got rid of the arches.
That's actually a different picture.
Really?
Yeah. I have a picture with the arches. I have a picture with just part of the spiral with the arch. I like that one also, but this, I straightened it. And where I was sitting down here, I just tried really hard to get this as straight as I could, and that eliminated the arches. Not on purpose necessarily, it's just eliminated the arches. I was blown away that at 51,000 ISO, it came out this good. So I was really surprised.
You did a really good job. I remember trying to get it straight, and it was such a cramped space.
Yeah, it was very small space.
I like them both. But I agree with Ira to get rid of that rope or whatever that
That's
is.
the hand railing.
Handrail, yeah.
Okay, I can definitely
They
do
have
that.
beautiful curves that are interrupted by that railing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, thank you all.
Well, did
And-
great work.
Okay,
Thank you.
that was a good.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and
Thank you.
stop share.
Thanks,
Okay,
Adrian.
great.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank
And
you so
everybody
much.
should have gotten the information on our next meeting, which is just a meeting only in February, the beginning of February. I sent that out like yesterday or the day before. I already got some responses back. And we're splitting up the meeting in February to be the Zoom meeting. And then on a Sunday at the end of the month, we're going down to Miami to
And
take.
as this presentation was going on, I've been getting messages about all the other events that are going to be happening on the 26th.
Oh, really?
I
There's
know
a
the
face
golf
painting,
club
there's a
has
rodeo going on.
Hmm.
What can I do?
Yeah.
Whatever date we picked would have been wrong.
Is
Right.
it possible to move it up closer? I was hoping to get good pictures for the show, and the cutoff is very close.
Now, we looked at the calendar. I can't remember what was going on.
Well, we can't submit them until February 23rd or something like that.
Yeah, you have until March 1st. So if you come home and look at your pictures quickly on, that day or the next day, you should be able to. And if you need a
Yeah.
grace, if you have some fabulous pictures from those and you need a couple of days grace, of course, we're going to give you a couple of days grace. Don't worry about it.
We picked the Sunday because it's easier to get to Brickell on a Sunday. And what was the reason with the 19th? Was there a problem with the 19th?
I don't remember.
That would be better.
When Super Bowl is what, the 5th, I
The
think.
12th, I think.
The week before, it's the second Sunday in the month of February.
12th.
Okay, 12th. So the 19th would be a,
Unless, I don't know, is that the cruise that a lot of people are going on?
Oh, yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, I know I can't be there the last, and I already told you.
Yeah, I think the 19th is part of that cruise date. Yeah, because they're going to be gone on the 22nd for the renovation vote. So,
Yeah,
yes.
They could vote before they go, though.
No, I know that, but that's why we tried to stay away from that date for the and there's also company because it's President's Weekend.
President's Week, yeah.
That's President's Weekend. So
that's it. My sister was here that weekend.
yeah,
That's
there's
why
all kinds of
I
stuff.
didn't pick it. Right.
Right.
So let me put in a plug for Brickell. This is absolutely incredible. If you've ever been to Brickell before, forget it. Forget about what it looked like. Yes, it's always been beautiful, because I don't know about always, but you have these big, beautiful buildings there with glass and just spectacular. But what they've done to Brickell in the last 3-4 years is just unbelievable. The mall in Brickell is like nothing I've ever seen before. I wouldn't buy anything there because it's all expensive, but the architecture, the abstract is just spectacular. The shadows, everything about it. I was there last year for just visiting it, and I said we have to do a photo shoot there. And people have said to me, Brickell, I don't feel like going to Brickell. Let me tell you, you won't be disappointed. And they have 4 or 5 restaurants right there, and I'm not going to assign a restaurant. We'll let everybody do their own, but it's worth the trip. And I'm looking into, I haven't done it yet, but I'm looking into taking Brightline there, because I think Brightline goes right to Brickell. That's my plug.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. And if anybody has any questions about the show, don't forget to ask us, and we're good to go. Okay. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.